Adobe Bridge is command central for managing your digital assets. It's fast, easy to use, and comes included with Photoshop. Let's find out more. At its core, Adobe Bridge is a file browsing application. We'll see that it actually does much more than that, but the reason to use Bridge is to take control of your growing library of files. Note that I said files, not images. That's because Bridge can also display PDFs, page layout documents, audio files, and in CS5, even videos. First things first though, how do we get to Bridge? You can launch it from inside your Applications folder, but the beauty of Bridge lies in its tight integration with Photoshop. In fact, we can launch Bridge right inside Photoshop. To do that, move up to the Applications bar and simply click the Launch Bridge icon. Bridge can be a little confusing at first, so let's talk about the interface. A key to working with Bridge is understanding that the screen is basically divided into three main areas. On the left, we have a series of panels, and this is where you will locate or find images. In the center, we have a large content window. This is where the images that you have found or located will be displayed. And on the right side of here, most of these panels are going to allow you to add information to the images in the content window. Now, for the first time in this training, I'm going to be using images that are not included in your project files folder. Why? Bridge is best understood as a tool for managing large numbers of images. What I'd like for you to do is navigate to an image collection on your computer. How do you do that? Well, let's go to this Folders panel, and you can see here we have all of the volumes that are on my computer. Right now, I'm on a volume called Images. You navigate through your computer with these disclosure triangles. If you're like me, clicking on disclosure triangles to navigate is not a fun way to spend your time, so I'm going to show you a better way to do that. Click on the Favorites panel. Notice that in my content window I have three folders: Canada, Italy, and Travel. If these are folders that I'm going to be accessing on a regular basis, I'm going to add them to my Favorites panel simply by clicking and dragging. There's the Canada folder. Here comes Italy. And let's bring over Travel. Now, whenever I want to access the images inside these folders, all I do is go to my Favorites panel and click. Here you can see all of the images inside the Italy folder. Just like Photoshop, Bridge has workspaces, so it's easy to change the arrangement of items on the screen. Right now, I'm in the Essentials workspace. Bridge ships with many others, and you can create your own custom ones just like in Photoshop. I'm going to pull this workspace switcher out just so you can see some of the other choices available. And let's just click through a couple. We have film strip, metadata. Let's go over and see what keywords looks like. You've got multiple options for arranging the layout. Let's go back to Essentials. I want us all to be looking at the same thing. And to make sure that we're starting with the same view, I want you to right-click on the PC, control-click on the Mac, on the word Essentials, and select Reset. This will take it back to the factory default, and now your screen should be set up exactly like mine. In the content window, the images are very small. It's not very usable, so let's go down to our thumbnail slider and drag them, and drag to the right to make these files larger. We'll go right about there. We can sort of see three files across. To the right of the thumbnail slider, we also have the option to view the images differently. We can see them in a grid. We can view them without the grid lines. We have details view, a list view, metadata view, many different ways that we can view the information in the content window. I'm going to go back to our View Content as Thumbnails option. I'd like to point out that at the top of the application bar along the right, we have a search bar. Bridge, though, ships with some powerful filtering and collection features, so we're not even going to use the search bar. Bridge really excels at customized searches. In the next lesson, I'll be showing you much more effective ways to find images. With our content window full of images, if we'd like to scroll through them, we can simply drag the slider and look through the images that are in this folder. But there's one more way to do this that I'd like to show you. If we go to the View menu, we can choose Review Mode. That takes us into a screen where we can cycle through all the images in the content folder simply by clicking on them. And we can navigate through one by one. That can come in very handy. To go back to our normal mode, simply click the X at the bottom right of the screen. And although we've set up favorite folders that make it easy to navigate from one set of images to another, if you ever get confused about where you are on your computer, I'd like to point out this file path bar that lets us know in this case we're in the Canada folder, which is located on the images folder, and so on and so forth. So you can always find your way back and move up one level. Now that we have at least a basic grasp of the layout, let's continue on to the next lesson and see what we can do in Bridge. For my money, Bridge's most powerful feature is the ability to quickly and easily show you the files you want to see. In our filter panel here on the left, you can see a large number of criteria that we can use to search through images. But I want to show you something, because this is only a partial list. If we click on this disclosure triangle, you can see all of the built-in criteria that Bridge ships with to let you search and sort through images. Now you'll notice that this filter panel may look a little different on your screen because it auto-populates itself to limit you to seeing just the filters that apply to your images. Note down here towards the bottom of the list I have artist, album, genre, key, and tempo. Those apply to audio files, and because there are no audio files in my Canada folder, they're not showing up in the filter list. So the filter list will automatically populate itself with criteria it can actually use to sort through your images. Let's see how this works. I'm going to open the Date Created panel, and let me make these thumbnails smaller so you can get a sense of what we're about to do. There we go. You can see I've got a ton of images in there. Down at the bottom, you'll notice that I have 159 items listed here. Let's select a date. I'll choose 9/26/2006. Now, I've reduced that list to 58 images. I'm going to click an additional date, 9/28. So I want images now shot on both of those dates. Now I've bumped my items up to 90. Let's go down here to orientation. Going to select portrait. Now we're down to only 18 items, and I'll go and open the ISO speed ratings box and click 400. Now I'm down to 4 images. There are 4 images in this folder that have an ISO of 400 that are in a portrait orientation and that were shot on September 26th and September 28th. With filters, you've got a very powerful tool for combing through your images. I'm going to deselect these one at a time and keep an eye on the content window. As I remove search criteria, it repopulates with all of our images. In the Collections panel to the right of Filter, we have another option for gathering images. I'm going to go down to the bottom of this panel and click on the New Collections button. We can name this collection. I'm going to call this one Rocks. And let's go back to our Canada folder. And I'm simply going to click and drag to add images to this collection. You can see how this works. You manually locate images, put them in the collection. The collection remains with Bridge. The next time you launch Bridge, it'll be there. And if you click on the collection, you see the images that you've added. I'll go back to Canada. Now that can be useful, but there's an even more powerful way to use collections, and that is to create a smart collection. The icon for that is down at the bottom of the panel. Watch what happens when we click New Smart Collection. We get a Smart Collection window, and now we have some choices to make. First, Bridge wants to know where should it be looking for the images. Should it only look in the Canada folder? Let's make it search our entire image volume. Now we get to decide the search criteria that Bridge will use to pull the images. I want to see, I think, all of the images that I've shot in black and white. So I'm going to go up to color mode. Color mode equals black and white. I can add search criteria, so I'm going to click the Add button. And out of those black and white images, I only want to see the files that are saved as TIFFs. So I'm going to go up here to Document Type. Document Type equals And TIFF should be way down here at the bottom. So now Bridge is going to search through the images volume for images that are in black and white mode and that are set to a TIFF. Under results, we can determine whether the images have to meet both of those criteria or if they can just meet any one of them to be shown. We're going to leave this on if all criteria are met. We have a checkbox on include all subfolders, so even if there are folders inside that volume, Bridge will still look through them. And we're going to include non-index files. I'm going to hit the save button. It asks me for a name. I'm going to name this collection BW for black and white. The contents window shows the results of a search over my entire images volume for black and white TIFFs. Each of these files is a black and white image, and each of them is saved as a TIFF. This is an absolutely fantastic tool that you're going to use, and it gets even better. Because this is not a static collection, it automatically updates. If I were to add a file to my images volume that was a black and white TIFF, it would automatically show up in this smart collection. So you make the smart collection once, and it continually searches through your collection of images, automatically updating itself. It really doesn't get any easier than that. I'm going to go back to my Canada folder here and show you another way that you can use to select images. I'm going to make the thumbnails larger. That looks pretty good. If I click on an image, you'll see just below the image area I have 5 placeholders. These are where we can rate our images. I can add a 1-star rating, a 2-star rating, or a 3-star rating here. I could do the same to this first image. I'll give this a 1 star, and I'll give this image 2 stars. With ratings applied, I can go up to my filter menu up here, and I can choose to show images that have 1 or more stars. So I'll click on that. Now we can see all the files that have at least 1 star. I'll reduce the thumbnail. Suppose I want to be more picky and I just want to see images that have 2 or more stars. I can select that, and you can see we've called our list down, and if I show 3 or more stars, we are down to 1 image. If you'd like to go back and see all of the images, you can clear the ratings by simply going up to the filter menu and selecting Clear Filter. Keep in mind that star ratings can be used in conjunction with both filter selections and any collections that you make. That's a very powerful combination of search tools. Metadata is simply a fancy word for information about data. In our case, the data are the image files. Metadata is not a new concept, but with the onslaught of digital cameras over the last decade, it's taken on a primary importance. So what does metadata mean for us? Well, if I click on an image, you can see in our metadata panel the first instance of metadata, and that's the exposure information. You can see the aperture, the shutter speed, the ISO. All of this metadata comes from the camera. As soon as you press the shutter button, your camera records a wealth of information about your digital image that travels with the image. So this is our first instance of metadata, and it is recorded automatically. Let's find out more about metadata. I'm going to get a little more room on the screen. I'm going to close this preview panel by control-clicking on the Mac, right-clicking on the PC, and selecting Close Preview. I'm going to drag this pane over to the left to get more room. Under metadata, we have various fields here. I'm going to open up File Properties. We've got basic information about the file name, date it was created, size, color mode, all that good stuff. Let's take a closer look at the camera data, also called EXIF information. You can see the lens that I used to capture this shot. I didn't use a flash. I set my white balance to auto. You can even see the make, model, and serial number of the camera that was used to capture this shot. All of these are examples of metadata that come directly from your camera. Now let's look at the IPTC panel. Here is where you have information that you add to your image. I've got all my contact info up here. I've got location information. This image was shot in Rocky Harbor in Newfoundland in Canada. I've got my copyright information down here. Notice that at the right of each field is a pencil. That means it's editable. We can add or delete information here. If you want to add a title, simply click in the title box, enter it. You can add instructions. You can add rights usage terms in here. So all of these fields you can change, you can add information, do whatever you want, and the information will travel with your file. I'll type something in here. Now, anytime this file moves, whether I email it to someone or upload it on the web, this information will stay in here. Let's drag this window a little bit. Bridge is now asking us if we want to apply these changes to the metadata. We'll hit apply. Drag this out a bit wider. And I want to show you a few more fields. We've got camera raw information. We're going to be talking about camera raw in the very next chapter. But here you can see the camera raw settings that have been applied to this file. Metadata is really well implemented throughout Adobe's products. So again, we can see information from camera raw here showing up right inside of Bridge. If we've got audio files, video files, we can see information specific to those formats. Keywords are another form of metadata that you can work with in Bridge. I'm going to click to open the Keywords panel. You can see that Bridge ships with defaults, but it's easy to create your own. I'm going to go down to the New Keyword button and click that, and we'll type nature. You can also create sub-keywords that will appear inside the parent keywords. I'll add that by clicking on the New Sub-Keyword button. So inside nature, we're going to have a sub-keyword titled clouds. Now, what can we do with keywords? Well, just like with regular metadata, we can assign or tag them to images that will make it easier to find them later on. I'm going to scroll down here in the content window. And let's find some clouds. There we go. We've got 3 of them. I'm going to click to select the first image. You can see that I have already assigned the keyword clouds to it. To assign a keyword, all you have to do is click on the box next to the word in the keyword panel. I'm going to click this second image. That has been assigned clouds as well. Now what I can do is move over the clouds keyword, right click on the PC, control click on the Mac, and select find. Our find criteria automatically comes up to search for keywords containing the word clouds. I'll simply hit find, and now Bridge has found all of the images that have been tagged with the keyword clouds. Keywords are a very powerful way to add information to your image that can be leveraged later on when you go to search. Remember when I said Bridge is more than a file browsing application? Something else it excels at is outputting your images for screen view, for the web, and even print. Bridge has a great slideshow feature. Let's take a look at that. In my favorites folder, I'm going to go back to my Italy folder. And under View, I'm going to go to Slideshow Options. Many things to choose from here. We can choose the duration of the slideshow, whether it's going to have captions if we've added that, how the image is going to be fit to the screen. We're going to leave all these settings at their default and simply hit the play button. Now we've gone into a full screen mode with our slideshow, and the images will dissolve into each other. To exit the slideshow mode, you simply press the Escape key on your keyboard, and we're back to our standard view. Another thing you can do with Bridge is create an image gallery for your website. In the Workspace switcher, I'm going to select Output, and click on Web Gallery if you're not there automatically. We have a number of templates. I'm going to leave it at standard. We can title the gallery, we can put our contact information, we can put about this gallery information. For right now, I just want to leave it standard so you can see what it does. Let's get a preview of what this would look like. We're going to click the Refresh Preview button. And there we go, we've got a preview of the website. I'm going to drag this panel out so you can see the entire frame. There we go. All of these we can change. You could give it your own gallery name. Obviously, instead of my photographs, you might want to make it something a little more personalized. We can put our contact name. All that information we can change in here. So my photographs, you can change that to something else. You could change the gallery name. All these fields are editable. You can also preview this in any web browser that's installed on your computer. So we've got a fast and easy way to create an online image gallery. Bridge also lets you create PDFs that you can either email or print. I'm going to click on the PDF icon. Now what we'd like to do is set some basic parameters for the document. We're going to choose a US paper size. Letter size looks good. We can choose the quality for our images. We'll move this quality slider up to 100% here. We can choose a background color, all those cool things, but let's get this set up so we can actually see a preview. I'm going to select a number of images here, and let's go and hit refresh preview. See what that looks like as a PDF layout. So you've got images on the page. Note now, I'll scroll down here to layout. We started with a layout of 2 rows and 2 columns. The images are going to be fairly large, and obviously this is going to create a lot of pages, but we can change this. I'm going to set 6 columns by 4 rows. We'll try that. Now I'm going to hit the refresh preview button. Bridge is generating a preview. With a 6 by 4 column and row layout, we can actually fit more images on this page, so I'm going to add some more images. I'm going to shift click here to extend that selection out, and this should be much better. Let's hit the refresh preview button. There we go. Now we filled up a page with images. So a quick and easy way to create PDFs. We can print this, we can email this, lots of options here, and we don't even have to go into Photoshop. While it hardly seems like a hassle to move from Photoshop to Bridge, in CS5 we don't even have to do that. Mini Bridge is a new addition that puts a streamlined Bridge interface directly inside of Photoshop. We can launch Mini Bridge from the Applications bar. Simply go click on the icon and up pops Mini Bridge. Notice in the navigation panel we have favorites, and if I click and drag down here, you can see the favorite folders that we set up earlier in Bridge. If I click on Canada, in our content window we have the contents of that Canada folder. If I scroll down below favorites, we see collections, and if I click, aha, we have our smart collection that we created, black and white. A simple click here will give us our black and white TIFFs. Mini Bridge does a great job of letting you pull images from various locations. What can we do with them? Well, since we're in Photoshop, it would make sense that we could open the images. If you right-click on an image, control-click on the Mac, you get a pull-down and you can simply open the image. Slide this out of the way temporarily. There we've got our image open in Photoshop. Let's close this for right now. Pull back a Mini Bridge. There's something else that we can do. All the time we spent talking about smart objects, it'd be a shame not to leverage that inside Mini Bridge. I'm going to select this image and click in the Tools menu, Place in Photoshop. And what does placing a file in Photoshop do? Yes, it creates a new document with a smart object. I'm going to collapse Mini Bridge. We've got this file now, and look in the Layers panel, we have a smart object. So Mini Bridge is really your one-stop shopping for finding your images in various locations and opening them in Photoshop so you can get to work.